President Sahle-Work Zewde urges the youth to play an active role in stopping conflict in the nation. And TPLF's rocket attacks on Amhara state and Eritrea is a serious international crime, and the junta should be accused of that, says a legal expert. Hello and thank you all for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. Ethiopian youth have an inimitable responsibility to stop ethnic-based violence across the nation. This was President Sahle-Work Zewde's remark at the graduation ceremony of more than 4,000 students of Addis Ababa University. Alula Taklamarian presents the following story.
Education is among the hard-hit sectors due to the coronavirus pandemic across the world. Schools rather locked up doors to their respective students, and of course some of them used to be quarantine centers. One of the oldest Ethiopia's higher education institutions, Addis Ababa University, suspended its formal learning amid the pandemic. The university graduated over 4,000 students today in the presence of President Sahle-Work Zewde.
For sure, this is a new chapter for you. Ethiopia tomorrow will be led and represented at the international arena by you, today's graduates.
The president called upon the graduates to discharge their responsibilities in a steer clear of ethnic-based violence across the nation.
It's impossible to always enjoy the comfort zone in any country, as challenges are there too. We face various kinds of challenges requiring special attention to address them. Don't forget that Ethiopia is the only country you belong to. So you should not allow any destructive force that displaces and kills innocent citizens for no reason.
President of Addis Ababa University, Professor Taso Woldehana, congratulated graduates upon their successful completion, irrespective of the global pandemic impacts.
We have successfully garnered our achievements and have seen this day passing all those problems in connection to security issues that have been deliberately driven by anti-peace elements and the case of coronavirus pandemic in the country. We have been managing the teaching and learning process in an online platform where teachers could easily access their students.
Professor also pledged commitment to exert efforts where national security issues would be methodically addressed.
We believe that our university is mandated to contribute its experience and knowledge in conducting problem-solving researches to solve security and related challenges in the country. Thus, things are ongoing accordingly on our side.
Graduates, to their part, seem to be impatient to translate their knowledge into action, considering Ethiopia as a big image of their future.
I studied international relations, and I want to contribute my share in my field of study that helps Ethiopia to strengthen its diplomatic ties with other countries in line with its national interest.
This year's graduates turned the 70th round of graduation in the history of Addis Ababa University.
Chairperson of the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia, Burtukan Mideksa, vouched political parties to settle speculations over the recruitment of election executives. She said this during the board's discussion with contesting political parties about the upcoming general elections. Haptamu Ashagri has more on this.
The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia held consultative discussion with contesting political parties about the ongoing preparations to undertake the upcoming general election. Speaking on the occasion, representatives of various contesting political parties have raised their concerns about the upcoming election as follows.
Zenduro Mikahedoun Mircha. Skazare Kaneperu Yamirchak Eldoch Yeteleye Yeminaderg Kahone. እጅጉን ትኩረታችን በምርጫ አስፈጻሚዎች ላይ ይሆናል።
If we want to undertake effective election in the country, we have to focus on the appointment of electoral executives in various regions. We have to take good lessons from the previous election procedure eras so that we can make the upcoming election credible. What is the preparation of the board to identify the intervention of electoral executive in the previous election? How about the existing security threat across the country? Can you update us on this, please?
ህገ መንግስትን ያፈረሱ የፌዴሬሽን ምክር ቤትን ውሳኔዎች የጣሱ
The National Election Board of Ethiopia is not taking proper legal measures on those political parties violating the law of the land and the decision of the nation's House of Federation, as well as violating the agreement of political parties' joint council. What is the board's stance on this concern?
ድርጅቶች
Addressing the concern of contesting political parties, Chairperson of the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia, Burtukan Mideksa, vowed to political parties to settle their speculations over the recruitment of election executives and other issues.
Most opposition political parties show the concerns they have over election executives. This shows the existing contesting political parties speculated things about the independence of the board. For me, there is no problem at all. We don't accept all electoral executive members that were found guilty when they participated in the prior elections. In general, all parties in this business will have the list of members of electoral executives before they are assigned as electoral executives in every polling station. This activity helps us to get your saying before the election. As a result, I want to assure you there is no any appointment before solving this problem.
The Electoral Board is working to bring 200,000 electoral executives to make the upcoming general election reliable and credible, Burtukan mentioned. The chairperson urged political parties to avoid any speculation until the board invites them to evaluate the members of electoral executives.
I would like to tell for all political parties to avoid any speculation until you are invited, for your saying is vital to evaluate electoral executives. So you have to verify the information based on the structure that you had about electoral executives. Activities are also needed to finalize any information early. We have to maximize our effort to finalize this business clearly and seriously. Thus, I want to urge you to finalize your assignments on the issue as soon as possible.
Burtukan added the existing security threats are still alarming to the country, but the board is working to settle conditions with responsible stakes.
Regarding security issues, we have been discussing it before. The security conditions in some areas are worsening and some areas are settled back. We are evaluating it seriously to find a way to go forward. There is no intention to postpone the election because the security threat may take other 2 years. Therefore, it's better for political parties to take this business as it is.
Information obtained from National Electoral Board of Ethiopia shows the board is undertaking preparations to run the upcoming general election in 2021.
You're watching Addis News Hour. The Ethiopian Human Rights Council said it has confirmed that more than 1,100 innocent people have been subjected to ethnic-based massacre in Maikadra and other areas. The Ethiopian Human Rights Council has been closely following the armed conflict between the Tigray regional government and the federal government since November 4, 2020. However, during the conflict, civilians suffered a variety of physical and psychological abuse, as well as serious human rights violations, including brutal killings and sexual assault, the statement the Commission issued noted. Of this, the November 9, 2020 massacre in Maikadra was a major one. The investigation team traveled to the affected areas and gathered information from the victims, the families of the victims, eyewitnesses, funeral directors and church fathers, officials of the the interim government institutions and other areas. In addition, the group toured mass graves inside and outside the church and also found unburied bodies. 2 days before the Maikadra incident, the Maikadra local police and the Tigray Special Forces conducted a door-to-door search of people holding Sudanese SIM cards and destroyed them, alleging that they would transfer information. Surviving victims said the regular armed forces and the informal youth group called Samri began looking for identification cards, and they spoke to victims in Tigrinya and identified those who could not respond and began to attack them. The attack was mostly carried out using tools such as machetes, knives, axes, and ropes. There are mass graves where 42 people are buried near the church compound, 57 people in the area known as Salela Mesmer, 56 people on Walda Ab Road, 6 people near Kabale 04 bridge area, and 18 people near the flooding area.
A good Ghana player is both strong and skillful. You have
you leave the past behind. I had a dream that we could fly.
Welcome back again. A legal expert says the rocket attacks on TPLF on Amhara State and Eritrea is a serious international crime, and the junta should be accused of that. Many diplomatic bodies, including the head of State Department of the U.S., have condemned these unprecedented attacks he mentioned. Emmanuel Jorge reports.
Before it was completely crushed, the TPLF junta launched rocket attacks in Bahir Dar and Gondar cities of Ethiopia and in certain cities of Eritrea, including Asmara. The global media analysis and some governments' reaction to this showed that the TPLF intention was to give the conflict an international image. Regarding this issue, legal expert told ETV that TPLF's rocket attack is immoral and violates principles of international laws.
At least in domestic situations, you don't see armed forces using rockets to attack their own people. First of all, it makes it very, on moral ground, it's very unjustified and very tragic also. Because attacks in Gondar and Bahir Dar, these are heavy military operations that could target civilians, because when you fire a rocket, the casualties, the collateral damage that these kinds of attacks bring on civilians is massive. Attacking even a friendly state with a rocket itself is a crime, and also it violates also principles of international law, because Eritrea did not attack Ethiopia at that moment, so they fired the rocket without any provoked attack. That makes it a kind of aggressive kind of act, which is also barred by the UN Charter itself. And for me, because for the TPLF, this actually backfired, because when they fired the rockets, the idea was that they tried to demonstrate their military capability. But actually, if you see the diplomatic circle and the reaction was very swift, and every country and also the State Department of the US condemned this act. And they never expected, I think, that.
Ms. Sembet also pointed out that the TPLF junta was getting rid of political parties that have strong political ideologies. Beyond their malicious acts, which have become vivid after the tension of their relation with the federal government due to the current reform in Ethiopia, TPLF had been absolutely suppressive of different political views than its old divisive ideology.
The deeply authoritarian political history of TPLF shows us that they will do anything to serve their political purpose. And it's very sad, because this is not the psychology of the people of Tigray. When we see political protests in Amhara region, in Oromia region, in many places, I think there is a level of openness to have a voice for other political groups to make their concerns heard. In Tigray, for the past 30 years, you cannot have any kind of alternative political opinion. None at all, I mean. That's very tragic, by the way.
Admiring the government's patience over the TPLF clique's recurrent acts of destabilizing Ethiopia, the experts said no state in the world is capable of tolerating such crimes like Ethiopia.
The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission urged the government to take legal measures on the armed killers of civilians in Benishangul Gumuz state. The commission also suggested for the protection of the vulnerable segments of the society from further attacks and the immediate reinstatement of the displaced. Sintayo Tamra tells you more.
During his interview with ABC, Ethiopian Human Rights Commissioner Daniel Bekele stated his commission confirmed there were recurrent inhuman attacks in the state of Benishangul Gumuz. With the ethnic-based attacks in Metekel zone and its surrounding, a number of people have been killed, including those over 100 civilians massacred on Wednesday.
The armed groups exert ambush attacks on the civilians. They inhumanly killed a large number of people with bullets, arrows and other traditional tools. They also caused physical damage to others. Besides, they fired collected harvests of the residents. A great many people have fled to the forest. Family members lost because they escaped in different directions.
Mentioning that Metekel zone and the surrounding has been center of severe human rights abuse, Daniel went on indicating the urgency of providing medical and humanitarian aid to victims in hospitals and to the displaced ones.
In certain areas, the attack was being exerted on Amhara nationals, but recently those killed were mainly members of the Shinasham. In general, our Ethiopian brothers and sisters, including mothers and children, were killed. Therefore, we have been recommending a need to direct a concerted $30 billion federal and state governments to curb the issue. So what's important now is to provide humanitarian and medical aid to those displaced and injured.
Daniel further urged the government to take law enforcement measures so that citizens' rights and safety will be secured.
ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ በታሪካችን ሁሉ ጊዜ የዚህ አይነት የሰብአዊ ቀውስ ሳያቋርጥ ሊቀጥል የቻለው
Similar human rights violations are perpetrated for too long in a country because we don't make the violators accountable for their offenses. Hence, the federal and state governments should not take serious security measures in Benishangul Gumuz because the criminals have been repeatedly attacking and hiding themselves in the forests. This must stop now by bringing the criminals before the law. Consequently, it needs strong security measures.
The commissioner stressed that relocation of the displaced people should also be paid considerable attention.
Expats and ambassadors of various countries extended best wishes upon the coming 2021. Shifarau Lako compiles their messages as follows.
We wish the economic growth in this country will be continued.
Actually, just 2020 was it was a little bit troubleful for the older world, but God wishes we will wish for the world and as well for Ethiopia to everybody to have a beautiful, bright new year as 2021. Hassleless and the people. Here we will wish to all of to Ethiopians and as for the world.
For all our diplomatic community, I wish you a wonderful New Year and Merry Christmas. Thank you so much.
So wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
And finally, Christmas festivities have been limited around the world. Pope Francis, in his Christmas message on Friday, said political and business leaders must not allow market forces and patent laws to take priority over making COVID-19 vaccines available to all, condemning nationalism and the, quote, virus of radical individualism. Jerusalem Betzaha tells us from Reuters and from Wire News about how the world has celebrated Christmas with social distancing, lockdowns, online gatherings, and in the looming shadow of the coronavirus.
It's the season unlike any other Christmas. This year, as silent, the music is mostly confined to churches. Gatherings have moved online. Many midnight mass have been cancelled. Bethlehem's major square was almost empty on Christmas Eve.
Christmas for us this year is so sad. There is no Christmas at all.
Nativity church rang in Christmas with a crowd lesser than usual. In the United Kingdom, Prince Charles and wife Camilla joined a star-studded poem recital. Italy's famous Truly limestone hearts lit up with lights of hope. Moscow had a white Christmas Santa climb down hospital walls to greet the children. In Spain, an 85-year-old left the nursing home to celebrate Christmas with her family. In neighboring France, grandmas braved the virus to join their loved ones on the dinner table. In Bangkok, a diving Santa spread Christmas joy. Outspreading joy was also a canine co-pilot of a Colombian taxi driver. U.S. President Donald Trump mentions his message to American people.
The President and I want to wish every American a very Merry Christmas.
During the sacred season, Christians celebrate the greatest miracle in human history. More than 2,000 years ago, God sent His only begotten Son to be with us.
As you know, this Christmas is different than years past. We are battling a global pandemic that has affected all of us.
We are delivering millions of doses of a safe and effective vaccine that will soon end this terrible pandemic and save millions and millions of lives.
In his Christmas message on Friday, Pope Francis also urged leaders not to allow market forces and patent laws to take priority over making COVID-19 vaccines available to all.
I beg everyone, heads of state, companies, and international organizations to promote cooperation and not competition, to find a solution for everyone, vaccines for all, especially the most vulnerable and needy in all areas of the planet. The most vulnerable and needy must be first.
Now is the time to relax and to spend Christmas with